State. I looked and saw that they've only lost 2 home games this year. It must be tough at home.
Well, I believe I said it before we played them the first time. It was just a matter of time before they got the ship righted, and they certainly have. They've gone, I believe, 6-2 in the league since we beat them, and played very well at Wichita in one of their 2 losses. So, this is an experienced basketball team. We're going to start 4 seniors probably Saturday afternoon, and they've got a lot to play for. With a win, they could finish as high as 3rd. With a loss, they could end up in 8th. So there's really a lot on the line for their team, and you throw in the senior day component, and it makes for, I think, a pretty emotional game.
When, on the flip side with you guys, obviously you can't improve your standing in the conference tournament, but obviously every win helps the tournament resume. That's the way you have to go into the process.
Absolutely. We're trying to build the resume, and we're trying to build momentum for St. Louis. Practice will be far more enjoyable Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week if we can enter that with a victory rather than sulking through a defeat. So hopefully, we go and do the job that we need to do, but it certainly is not going to be easy.
You guys have come back from double digits a handful of times this year. I'm going to credit coaching. What do you credit?
You can credit coaching for us being down double digits. Our team has shown a lot of resolve. They don't get shook, and in some ways it's a weakness that they don't get a little bit more ticked off when things don't go as well as they should. But in another way, that's one of their strengths. They don't get rattled. They don't get flustered. They just keep playing. They stick with the plan. They've been pretty good about making the adjustments that we've asked them to make. And let's be honest, it takes a little luck as well.
Mm-hmm. Avery talked about he was kind of in a slump, and you talked to him about his shooting, and he had a big night the other night. Can you talk about what you talked to him about?
Well, just the need for repetition and the need for confidence. I thought Avery went through a stretch where he didn't practice very well and probably wasn't as focused and engaged in practice as he needed to be, and possibly just settled for the 5 to 7 minutes a game he was playing. So he and I talked that those 5 or 7 minutes are really important to our coaching staff. He's going in when the game's still in balance, and when we're struggling shooting, we need a guy like him that can come in and give us a lift, and he wasn't practicing to the level where we had the confidence in him to do that. And to his credit, he turned that around and had really a couple of very good days of practice, and fortunately for us, he carried it over onto the game floor.
You got a big lift out of him the other night. The game before, Austin comes in and gives you a big lift. This time of year when a lot of guys are maybe a little bit tired, how important are those guys that haven't played a lot to be able to come in and give you those kind of contributions?
It's huge, and you can point to games where you can include Will Artino at Drake with his play there. We've had our 3 freshmen step up at times when we really desperately needed them this year. And when you get this deep in the season, as you mentioned, you got people that aren't feeling the best. You got bumps and bruises, and then the other night we end up with some foul trouble, which we haven't had a lot this season. And fortunately, Avery was ready, like the rest of the freshmen have been for most of the year.
What about the log jam in the middle of the valley? Have you seen a situation where I think there's 6 teams that could finish third?
I've never seen anything like it, and the reality of it is we can't be thinking ahead anyway to who we could possibly play on Friday. So it'll make for an interesting Saturday afternoon, and my guess is there'll be a few teams when the TV comes on at 3 o'clock that'll be cheering for the Blue Jays Saturday afternoon.
Mm-hmm. How important is to head into St. Louis with a win on Saturday, that momentum?
I think it's huge. It's just the feeling you have in your locker room and on the practice floor it's so much better when you're riding a winning streak instead of losing a game. And, we'd much rather enter our 4 days of practice with a victory. So I think our guys understand the importance of this game and understand how it could impact us down the road. Gregory
talked about the importance of toughening up defensively. How important is that down the stretch here as we get into the second season?
It's of vital importance. The reality of it is we've shown we can do it at times, and it's just being able to do it consistently. There's some things that we can't make up for, a lack of length at a certain position, a lack of quickness, but the communication, the constant communication and the constant effort has got to be there, and that's the area that we as a staff are going to try to clean up the next couple days.
Has Avery and Austin been fairly typical of the way they've adjusted to their roles, coming from being guys that played probably every minute in high school, to a little more sporadic time on the court?
I think they've probably done a better job than most. oftentimes, if freshmen are your 8th, 9th, or 10th man, this time of the year they're buried and they're not playing much of a role because they've packed it in. The season's been too long. There's been too many practices with not enough reward of playing time. And to their credit, they really fought it extremely well, and they both went through periods of time where they struggled. And Austin was a little bit earlier in the conference season. Avery was here a couple weeks ago, but to their credit, they both got through it. And I think part of that comes from, number one, they've got a pretty good relationship with myself and the rest of our coaching staff, and number two, they've got some teammates that are really looking out for them, helping them get through those tough times.
Gregory has 2 baskets at the end of regulation. Can you just talk about his aggressiveness on the boards and what those 2 baskets meant?
Well, the first one was just a heck of an effort play. He could have stood and watched, but he went to the board. He followed up Antoine's miss and was able to stick it back in there. The one that sent it to overtime, it was a collective effort by our team. Doug got the first hand on the ball. Ethan came flying in there, got the hand on it, and Gregory didn't quit on the play and got a hand on it and flipped it toward the basket. And as I mentioned, sometimes you need to be lucky, and we got a good bounce there. But it doesn't happen without effort. And Gregory had 2 big baskets in that game and a big basket to tie the game against Long Beach State on Saturday night.
Most people talk about the top 2 teams, Wichita and you guys for the NCAA tournament, but you guys have seen so many good efforts from this next tier of teams in that pack. Do you feel like it's fair that it's just maybe 2 that are being talked about right now?
I think what maybe speaks to the strength of our league is the number of teams that could end up 9-9. That just speaks to the balance in our league, and that on any night anything can happen. And I think that's certainly the case with St. Louis. We've had our hands full with Evansville. We've had our hands full with Northern Iowa. Missouri State, we've been in 2 close games with. And those are teams that I think are capable of winning 3 games in St. Louis and having a chance to be successful. Illinois State's had some great wins throughout the year. And you can't discount Indiana State because they went there as the 2 or 3 seed last year. They won the tournament. They've got an opportunity to do that again. And they've got 4 or 5 guys who've already done it that understand what it takes. So I think it's going to make for an interesting tournament. I'd like nothing more to be playing on Sunday afternoon. And if I had my way, I'd like to play Wichita. But we'll see what happens.
Why is that? Why would you want to play Wichita?
I don't like the way the last game ended. I don't like the way it started. I didn't like the way it was in the middle. So that kind of stuff keeps me awake at night. So you want to have another chance to prove that you're a little bit better than you played.